Hello and welcome back to the channel. I am here joined by a good friend of mine, Rita, Maiden of the Spear on Twitter. And today we are going to go through some of the maybe overlooked moments in The Shadow Rising that we think would be potential good fits for the TV show to cover. And I think everybody knows the big moments in The Shadow Rising, like Ruidion or Nynaeve and Mogideon, stuff like that. So today we're going to kind of think about some of the lesser known moments, or maybe not as big moments, that we think would be really fun to cover. And I've got 5 and she's got 5. So I want to know what your first one is.
First of all, hello. I'm very excited to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. I'm so excited for this.
Okay, so my first moment happens in chapter 2,
Ooh.
and it's basically a bubble of evil moment, which I think it's such like a fun and like interesting moment. It's between Rand, Perrin, and Matt, and I really want to see it. I think some things of the scene have to be changed because some characters were not introduced yet.
Hmm.
But I think that the whole sequence, if it like makes it to season 3, would be absolutely amazing. Perhaps even like episode 1 or 2.
That would be a great
Man,
opener. That would be a great opener, specifically
yes.
because what I think with season 2, a lot of people were like, "Oh, like it's kind of dark. They're doing things a little bit darker. Like you have
Yeah.
Lanfear popping people's heads off and stuff like
Yeah.
that." But this would
Whoa.
be, yeah, this would be such a good moment to kind of keep that going throughout the series because
hmm
that's really one of these moments where everything's kind of normal. Everyone's chilling in their respective quarters within they're in the stone, but I don't know if they'll do that in the show. But what is it? Matt has the card, the little
Yeah.
Matt, the little guy in the cards come after him. Perrin has
I
his
think it's
axe.
like I think the characters on the cards like
Yeah,
come to life and like attack him. It's
yeah.
so much like it's so interesting. I really loved it.
Okay, would you be happy if instead of doing the exact same thing that happens in the books, if they changed it a little bit so that it was still a bubble of evil, but
Yeah.
I'm worried about CGI stuff, I think. Like if they're going to have the budget to do like Rand fighting many Rands or Matt getting
Yeah.
like poked by the little guy in the
Yeah.
cards.
A little.
Yeah.
Um I think that's a very like good question. I hadn't like thought of that. I think they could definitely change some things. For example, Perrin has not met Fail yet, so obviously that whole thing has to be changed somehow. She
Yeah.
cannot be there unless they choose to do the scene later in season 3 because
Okay.
I believe Fail is going to appear in season 3.
Yeah, I think so.
Hopefully, I'm really
Yeah.
excited to meet her.
Same, same.
But also, like, Rand is also in, like, Berylane comes into his room. And I think that's when that reflection thing happens, and Berylane
Mhm.
is there. So I don't think Berylane is going to be there. Perhaps another character. It could be Avienda. It could be, like, a Gwen. I don't know if they're all going to be together at some point in season 3. I hope so. But I think they could do it, like, they could simplify it. Like,
Mhm.
the X thing, it's very difficult, like, in terms of money to create.
Yeah.
I think the one that probably costs the most is Matt
Yeah.
because it's like little figurines, like it's not real.
Yeah.
Um, but I know I'm biased, but I really want to see it. I really want to see the cards.
Yeah,
I
because
really
you're
want
like
to see the
you're
cards.
like a Matchroom Cawthon #1
Oh
fan. So
yeah,
I understand why that one would
absolutely,
be like the one. I think too it would be really
absolutely.
cool to show just I mean visually it would be really cool to see, but also like
Yeah,
as far as like the storytelling goes, it's showing that like the fabric of the pattern of reality is starting to kind of just
exactly.
crumble. And I think that's a really good moment to include because there's a lot of fear with that, knowing that something's really, really wrong with the
hmm
world and the metaphysics of this world. So I think that's a really good pick.
I think it's essential because it's one of my favorite things about like the Wheel of Time. It's like everything related to the pattern and things like bubbles of evil. They're really interesting and very
Yeah.
unique to the
Yeah.
magic system. And I think the show needs that. Like, of course, we know about the Aes Sedai, but I think it needs that. It needs that. Needs something like
Yeah.
more spice, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Um, I was thinking about that Mets thing with the cards, and I like, what if they changed like the concept? Because Matt was playing with some lords and he was like with people. So what if the people that he was playing start like randomly attacking him, like in an hallucination type of thing?
Ooh.
My
That would
dog
be
is barking, I'm sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. That would be really cool too. Not Okay, I'm going to avoid spoilers here because there's something kind of like that later on in the books where people attack, but
Yeah,
it would be
yeah.
cool too to see him kind of like doubting himself, like, uh-oh, like, am I under the effects of the dagger? Is something wrong here?
Hmm.
But finding, Moraine or someone later on
Yeah,
and them explaining it to him and being like, look, you're okay. It's not you. That would be good for Matt too, I think. That's a
yeah.
good change. I like that.
Especially because of like the tea sequence in
Yes.
season two.
Yes.
And I think it would be like a trippy way of like portraying the scene.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's the solution.
I
That's just
like
my
it.
idea.
I like it. Okay, so I'm gonna go with my first one. And this one takes place at back to the two rivers. So we have Perrin he's with a group and they're going to save the people that were captured by the White Cloaks. I think it's the Luhans
Hmm.
and Matt's family. We have this moment where Perrin is really taking charge and he's delegating. And so him and Fail sneak out. The Aiel go one way, he goes a different way. And essentially what happens is at one point he gets together with Verin and he's like, Verin, we could really use some help here. And as we know, like the Aes Sedai are bound by the three oaths. So Verin can't just fireball a bunch of white cloaks without being attacked first. And she does this really typically Varen thing and kind of like, oh, I think in about 30 minutes, we're going to have a really bad storm, just a really bad storm. And she
Yeah,
creates this storm as a cover to let everyone kind of escape the white cloaks that have come back now after them. And I really hope that Verin is in the Two Rivers. I really hope that we have her back in this location when Perrin goes back because it adds so much mystique and kind of character to her. Whereas in season 2 we've got pieces and I think she's one of those characters that adds like a lot of fun. Like when she's in Shiriam's study and they're looking for clues and searching, like she has this really like lighthearted, interesting, fun personality. And when you move that back to the Two Rivers, where Perrin has just gone through the worst things that could possibly happen to someone, finding out all of this terrible stuff, like his family has died, you're
mm,
left with a lot of doom and gloom. Like it's a very traumatic thing, but Varen kind of adds that lightness to the story
yeah,
that I think is really necessary, especially in this moment where everyone's fighting for their lives and she's just being Varen, sneaky Varen. I don't know. I love her.
yeah. Yeah, I think she's a very like interesting and complex character. I don't want to
Yeah.
get too much into it, but she's definitely interesting. And I think they have developed her in season 2 in a very interesting way. But I really love this scene that you said, but I think they're gonna put Verin in the tower because of what's gonna happen in the tower in season 3.
Yeah. It's
I'm not sure.
possible. It's possible.
I
It's
think she
definitely
maybe, but
possible.
at the same time, mm, I feel like that like Verin with like Perrin, and it's much more like interesting in terms of her character development, especially because she likes to play with words and you
Yeah.
know, there's two options here for Verin: the
Right.
tower or the two rivers.
I'm almost wondering myself if she's not. If she's not in the tower, it would make sense because she helped Moraine, well, she helped Rand sneak out of his cell in Kyrian. So I'm
Hmm.
not sure where she stands with Siuan Sanche at the moment. I feel like
Yeah.
she has defied the Amerlin. She's done something against the Amerlin's wishes. So she has to be reprimanded for something. And I could see her kind of like
Yeah.
sneaking off and going her own separate way back to the Two Rivers. I just think it'll have to change why she's there, because if she has gone against Swan Sanche's wishes and she is kind of like hiding out and trying to stay away from the tower, it wouldn't make sense that her excuse for being in the Two Rivers is like finding women who can channel to bring them back to the tower. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of question marks for me, but oh, I would be really
Absolutely.
disappointed if she's not there. I love
Yeah.
that moment of them finding her there, and then this conversation with like the women's circle that is they've like hidden them out into the old like sick house or whatever they call it. And it's like, oh,
Hmm.
surprise, there's Aes Sedai here. And it's kind of like, well, that's different. Like, what's going on? I remember when I first read that, I'm like, what's happening? Like, why are they there? And she's like, oh, we're finding women who can channel. And I'm like, something seems off about this. But then
Hmm.
we go to this moment where she helps Perrin, and I'm like, okay, okay, she's there to help. She's going to do good. Like she's trustworthy. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a fun moment. I For people that know the series, I think it's one of these lighthearted moments, but there's always that question mark over Verin, and I love that.
Yeah. I don't know. I really want to see her. Like, I feel like she needs to be developed
Yeah,
quite a lot.
yeah,
And they have definitely dropped some things in season two, some hints, some things
yeah.
that a more careful viewer definitely picked on, especially a book reader. But
Yes.
I think that I didn't thought of that because she did help Moraine and Rand leave. So I think perhaps she's not going to go to the tower. I think perhaps she's going to stay with Perrin.
I would really love for her to be there. It's obviously going to be different. We don't know if we're going to get a Gaul. Like there's a lot of question marks, so we'll have to wait and see for that.
Definitely.
All right, what was your next one?
Okay, so this one, I think not many people remember it. I think it's very underrated, but I think it would be so much fun to see. It happens in chapter 7, and it's when Rand is testing his abilities in Sidene, and he basically wraps Egwene, and I think Elaine is also there in
Yeah.
like with weaves of power, and then Egwene realizes that he's so much stronger than her, and then
Yeah.
they basically discuss like the difference between Saidar and Sidene, and it's like a fun lore moment
Yeah.
that I think needs to be in like season 3 to explain lore to non-book readers, and I think it needs to be there, you know?
Yeah, because we've had the moment of Logain being like, "Oh, you're so powerful," and like you don't even need to practice, like you're just that powerful. But
Hmm.
you know, put Rand in a room with someone like Egwene and Elaine, the women are more dexterous with the one power, like they can do more things, but Rand is just more like powerful in general. We haven't really had a side by side comparison like that yet, where it's like Sidene, Sidar, someone doing this right here, someone doing that right there, and seeing it together, I feel like would be really compelling and really nice. Also, it would be a fun moment with Rand and Egwene back together where I know that they're having a lot of tense moments in their relationship at that part in the books because
Yeah.
Egwene is kind of like saying like, "Hey, I don't want to be your wife," or I don't see us happening." And she kind of
I think it happens in this chapter. I also think it happens in this chapter. I'm
yeah.
quite sure. So they could all wrap it up there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it has so much happening. Saidin Saidar,
Hmm.
their relationship, and then I think doesn't Egwene leave and leaves him with Elaine, and then they get to know each other a little bit better. So,
Yeah, I think so.
yeah,
I think that happens.
there's a lot happening in that chapter.
That chapter is very important.
Yeah, that's a good pick. That's a really good pick. Okay. My next one. I hate that I'm going to say this because it's like it's so necessary, but I don't want to see it. It's the confrontation between Siuan Sanche and Elaida in The White Tower, chapter 47, The Truth of Viewing, where Elaida comes in and rips the shawl off of Siuan Sanche's shoulders. And Siuan Sanche is just this incredibly powerful woman. Like everything that we've seen
Yeah,
from her in this show, like she is just so resolute and she has so much like willpower. It seems like she always lands on her feet unless it's
yeah,
a relationship thing with Moraine. Like that's the only thing that's really ever affected her that we've seen as viewers. So like I think having someone come in and challenge her in that way to where we do see another side of Siuan Sanche where it's like, oh, this woman can fall. Like she's incredibly powerful, but she still needs the weight of the White Tower behind her. And it's
yeah,
going to really introduce a lot of things about how many cracks are in the White Tower right now and how things are really starting to kind of fall apart with the introduction of the Dragon Reborn and obviously the introduction of Elaida. And I think this is the moment where it's like, this is her like evil villain origin story. Like that
yeah,
where she walks into the room. I remember reading that the first time and I was just like, no, no, this can't happen. And it's that
yeah,
moment where I really saw Elaida as something else, someone really dangerous and someone, she's always awful. But it's not
yeah,
up until that part where you're like, oh, like she's dangerous and awful.
yeah.
And I think she brings in this artwork. She has the sketch of Rand fighting a Shamael put in the new Amerlin chamber as she takes it away from Siuan Sanche, and then she puts up a tapestry of a former Red Aja Amerlin that was stilled and deposed. So it's like she's delusional. She's doing these things where it's
Absolutely.
yeah, why would you do that? But she's so confident in herself, and it's just like, I love Elida because she is so terrible. She's such a compelling,
Yes.
evil she's terrible.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So this is one of
Um.
those moments that I think
Yeah.
I wanna see, like, all the little nuances between these 2 actresses and just, like, the delusions of Elida brought to life.
I feel like Elida is gonna be a major character in season 3 for sure
I hope.
because they're going to. I think they're going to introduce her for sure. They're going to introduce her. But they're also going to introduce Camelin. I believe. I think this is all rumors.
Yeah,
None of it is confirmed. To clarify,
yeah,
I feel like maybe Gawain is gonna also like appear more gaze. So we're gonna see Elida, and I really want them to show how absolutely like delusional she truly is.
yeah,
Because what she does, everything she does, she's so like sure of herself.
yeah.
She's so sure that what she's doing is the right thing. Like
Mhm.
she's in the right. It's like a villain that has like many layers to it. It's a much
Yeah,
more like human villain
yeah,
because Elaida is evil and she's a really like bad person. She does like horrible things, but everything she does, she thinks that is justified,
yeah,
and that's what makes her such a compelling like character because she truly believes that she's doing those things because it's the right thing to do,
yeah. It's
and that makes her so dangerous.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. She's so
Yeah,
much more human than the Forsaken. Like, she's not this almost godlike, powerful figure. She's just this woman who thinks that she knows all the answers and just keeps failing upwards somehow, where it's like she's back and she's in charge. How did this happen? But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's a nice layer of like how you can be a villain in this world and not be a Forsaken or a White Cloak. Like there could be a
Absolutely.
villain anywhere, even within the White Tower. So it means so much to the story. It means so much to the White Tower, showing all the nuances of the White Tower. I like it.
So I feel like she needs to be truly portrayed for who she is. Like it needs to be clear that she's absolutely like delusional,
Yeah.
that she's not doing the right thing, she's doing what she's believe is right, and there's a big difference there.
Yeah.
And I feel like her like ripping the shawl and like her whole thing in the tower with Swan, I really hope it's going to be like a major thing in season 3, because I absolutely love those parts in the books,
Yeah,
and
it's
I really want to see them.
if the rumors are correct and it's actually Sheree Agdashlu that's playing Elaida, like getting these two actors together,
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
know if there's anything that really tops my like wants for season 3 like that moment
Absolutely.
does.
It's gonna be like insane. It's gonna be insane. I'm so excited. I'm
Yeah.
so excited. You have no idea. I'm wearing red, which is like kind of like
It's your
appropriate for
Elaida.
the conversation.
Yeah.
I promise I'm not that delusional. I promise.
Uh, okay. Oh, what was your next one?
So this one is a very, very sad moment, but
Okay.
it needs to be in season 3. I need like it's so important to Rand. It happens in chapter 10, and it's when the Fades and the Trollocs attack, and that little girl, she dies, and Rand is desperately like he wants to bring her back, and he can't. And that whole moment, it's so important for Rand
That's such
and
a
his
good pick.
character.
That is such a good pick.
So important, and I think it needs to be in the show. It does, because it gives not only the darkness, like, because it's the shadow rising, things are
Yeah.
gonna getting much darker, and it needs, like, the viewer needs to see that. And I think this moment would be like absolutely like a punch in the gut for the viewer, and for Rand it would be such a major moment in his arc. It also, like, in terms of plot and lore, it also says to the non-book readers that the One Power cannot bring people back from the dead. It
Yeah.
can't. It's
Yeah.
impossible. And there's many like layers to this scene that I think need to be in season 3.
Yeah,
I
it's
really want to see.
it's heartbreaking, yes, but it shows Rand's character, like how hard he is trying. Just he's
Hmm.
pouring all of the power that he has into this corpse, this body, trying to bring them back from the dead. It's a child, and he's just distraught. It takes a moment for them to finally get him to stop channeling because he's just not ready to let go yet. And I think it says a lot about who he is as a person in terms of like he needs this not just to make things right, but I think to see for himself like you can't heal everything. You can't bring someone back. And
Yeah.
just because you are the dragon reborn, it doesn't mean that you can do anything. And it's really brutal, but like you said, they're taking the show in some darker places. So I think like
Yeah.
this is probably, man, if you could pick almost any moment in the series, this is probably one of the most dark moments in terms of tragedy, where it affects him so much. But at the same time, lore, like it is a big lore moment, like
Yeah.
showing like what's possible, what's not possible.
I remember when I was reading that, I think I was like 17 at the time, and I was reading that, and it was when I started like feeling like things were getting dark and serious. It wasn't just like your average like fantasy book series. It was getting like it was getting dark and real. And I feel like Rand's mental health throughout the series, and his journey. It's very difficult, and I think it needs to be portrayed like correctly.
Yeah.
And I really want to see that because I feel like Rand, like that whole thing with the little girl, it was his like attempt at saying, I am the dragon reborn. I should be able to do this. I want to do this. Aren't I the most powerful channeler in the world? But I can't. And I have failed. And it doesn't matter how powerful I am. I cannot do these things. So what does it matter if I have all this power and I cannot do this? I feel like it's the major question in his head,
Yeah.
and it's so heartbreaking and
Yeah,
it's so
it's
sad.
he never really gets over it. Him witnessing the deaths of certain people sticks with him for a very, very long time. And this is like that
Yeah,
first big moment where he gets like a taste of like how terrible, like how tragic the world can be. Like he's seen some dark stuff and he's been a part of, so many battles at this point, but it's this moment where you're looking at a child and he's just like, what do I do? And another thing that's really great about this moment is the relationship between him and Moraine, where she's very
oh
gently
yeah,
trying to tell him, like, Rand, please stop, Rand. Like, look, it's not going to work. And she's very gently trying to kind of like get him to release Sidene. And it's a big moment for their relationship where it's almost like a mother figure for him, almost,
absolutely, yeah,
which they have a tumultuous relationship. So anytime
yeah.
that there is like a gentle moment between the two, it's really good.
And I feel like after like the season 2 finale, where we saw that Moraine was gonna do anything in her power to like proclaim Rand as the dragon, and everything in her power for her mission of like guiding the Dragon Reborn in fighting and everything. I feel like that's very important to show her being soft and gentle
Yeah.
towards him in a way that many Aes Sedai haven't been, especially after the events of episode 7 in season 2. I believe it was episode 7 that the Aes Sedai basically like Swan basically created a shield around Rand, and it's not just Swan. Like all the Aes Sedai are very like, not all, but most of them are very like suspicious towards him and don't really
Hmm.
trust him and don't see him. I don't think they see him as a human. They see him as a weapon.
Right.
And
Right.
that's one of the major problems in the Wheel of Time. It's the
Yeah.
Aes Sedai seeing Rand as a weapon.
Yeah. They did it
But
with Rand. They said the same thing about Nynaeve. Like they
oh,
see these
oh
strong
yeah,
channelers as a weapon, and it's like they're human, but they're seeing them
yeah,
as a tool. So
absolutely.
okay. This one was kind of a guilty pleasure. Like, there's nothing so transcendent about this moment, but I just really like it. It's chapter 39, the introduction of Cold Rock's Hold, where Rand is welcomed by the roof mistress, Leon. And we have this moment where we get to see Cold Rock's Hold and we get like a visual of what it looks like to live in the waste. But we also have this moment where we learn about what a roof mistress is. But Leon's welcoming these people into her hold. And we have the moment where Ruark is let in, and then Couladin wants to come in as well. And he's acting as though he himself is a clan chief. So he says the words to her that a clan chief would say, and like everyone is just like shocked. Everyone goes quiet. And Couladin is just like so belligerent. He's such a fun villain for me because
Yeah.
again, like he's just like it's almost cartoon funny to me because he's out of it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. Like,
And Leanne, so he says what he says to Leanne, and she's like, she gives a response, but the response she gives to him is basically calling him like a homeless beggar, where she insults him back. The biggest insult that you could possibly say to one of the Aiel. And it's just this moment of tension where I think it's one of the first moments where you get to see who Couladin, like what he's about, what his personality is like. And this moment is going to carry through the entire book, the entire season, because Couladin does have a pretty pivotal role, but it's just a guilty pleasure moment where I love to see Couladin put in his place by this woman who just is like, "Be gone, beggar." You know?
Yeah. Yeah. First of all, I didn't know the name was pronounced Kuladin. I always thought it's like Koladin. I never know how
I
to pronounce these names.
I'm the most, like, lax person with pronunciations, like, I don't care at all. So, they're hard though, they're hard,
Yeah,
and
they are
it's
like, especially for me, like a non-native speaker of like English. So I'm just like, just guessing, like it's probably pronounced like this.
yeah, I feel like
But
every person from a different country is going to pronounce the names with the language rules of their native tongue. So it's like,
yeah, a
who
little bit, yeah.
cares? Yeah, who cares? Say it however you want. I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care.
So so basically I think that moment is really important to like Quilladin's like character because I feel like I don't know if he's going to be introduced in season 3. I feel like he is. I feel like he is. I hope so because I think they're going to go to Rudian,
Mhm.
right?
They
So I
have
feel like
to.
that's
They
confirmed.
have to.
That's confirmed. I think
Yeah.
Ray kind of confirmed that. I'm not sure actually, but okay. So I really think like that scene is so important in terms of like culture and like introducing a new villain and seeing
Yes.
like early on what's his personality like what he thinks of himself, what other people like think of him, and it's a very like dynamic scene and I feel like it's so also so important to
Yeah.
introduce a new character. And I feel like that scene as like an introduction to a character would be perfect because straight away you get to see like, oh, who's this guy? Like, what's
Yeah.
his deal?
Who's this
There's
dork?
some
Like, what
yeah,
does this
there's
guy want?
something going on there. There's something going on
Yeah.
there. And
Yeah.
I really want them to explore more the dynamic between Rand and him. Also, the dynamic between Matt and him for reasons
Yes.
later on.
Another thing about this scene, I just think visually, for me, like, I love seeing how they've come up with the locations and the different landscapes that they show on the television series, but I really wanna see what Cold Rock's Hold looks like what
Yeah.
the Sept looks like and their homes and how it's kind of, like, built into the stone, I guess, and there's Rand has such a sweet moment where before he goes in, he's looking around and he's seeing they grow tomatoes and he's like, "Well, they're not apples." And it's like he's thinking to himself like, "I'm just a farmer, like, and I can't help but wondering about these strange like vegetables that they're growing."
Yeah,
And it's just cute. Like it's just
it is. It is.
visually it's a really nice location that I want to see, but also like I think it's just funny how Couladin gets put in his place by the roof mistress. So,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, what was your next one?
Okay. This scene I really want to see, but I think it's going to be very like in terms of like logistics and places complicated for it to make sense in the show. It's in chapter 17 when Min is in the White Tower and she looks at Logain and she sees like an halo of like radiant golden blue, which means like glory to come. And I need that scene for several reasons. One of them because Logain had such like a hard time in season 1 and 2,
Mhm.
and I feel like that scene it not only would show more of Min's like abilities, but would make Logain stand out to the viewer. Be like, oh wait, that's gonna be
Yeah.
important. What's happening there? It's like a really like tiny scene. I think it's a couple of like lines, in the book, but
Yeah.
I think it's very important. But I think it's gonna be hard because I have no idea where's Min gonna be or what she's gonna do in season 3. I
That's
have
a
no idea.
Yeah, that's a big question. I really like that because so far, Logain in the show is incredible.
Oh
I
yeah,
love the actor. He's wonderful. He brings so much life to this character. But in season 2, we see like him really starting to kind of lose grip on his sanity. And
absolutely. Yeah.
he's still very sympathetic, where I think most people can kind of understand like why he is like he is in this situation, what all he's going through, but to have some type of sign to be like things might be okay for him. Like he might be the key to something really important. Maybe he is a hero. Maybe there's something more to
Mm.
Logain. And I think for the fans of the actor, like that would be really exciting. And mostly just he's our only other male channeler. We only have him and Rand right now.
I feel like many people, especially on Twitter, which I've seen a couple of tweets, I think many people want to see more of Logain in the show
I do.
than in the books. Yeah, I don't want to like get too much into it because it's spoilers, but basically I think like Logain didn't have that much like time, like book time, and I feel
Yeah.
like they need to explore that more in the show. But also you mentioned something which brings me to a new question,
Okay.
which is like, do you like you said that the only like male channelers we have seen so far is Rand and Logain, but like wasn't
Well,
another male channeler name dropped in season 2?
yes. Yes. We've seen Forsaken male channelers, but the
Oh yeah,
Forsaken are
Forsaken, yeah.
they're still in their right minds. Like they don't have the taint. So
Hmm.
that's a little bit different. But yeah, didn't we have mention of another false dragon
Yeah,
already? Or
yeah.
proclaimed dragon? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
we had, and I screamed. By the way,
yeah.
I just want to clear that out. I screamed. I was like, oh! My exact reaction was like, like
Mhm.
this. And do you think that he's gonna show up in like season 3?
If I had to guess, I would say 4 because
Okay.
that would still give him enough time to get like primed and introduced for when they start covering book 6. So I think
Yeah.
4 would still give him enough time. I'm just what's so hard is they have so much to cover in season 3.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All the Two Rivers stuff, all of the tower stuff, all of the waste, and then Tanchico. Like it's
Yeah.
so much. But no, that's an interesting choice. I like that. I like that for Logain. And I really like Logain, so it would be nice to have him have like a
Yeah.
that's I don't want to say good for him, but like to the viewers to be like maybe there's hope, you know?
Yeah. Maybe there's hope for him.
Yeah. Okay. So my next choice is chapter 57, and this one takes place in the Two Rivers, and it is Loial and Gull closing the Waygate. And this moment in the book happens off screen. So we only get to see Loial and Gull coming back to the Two Rivers. They had been running for like days, like running for days. They show up, they're bloody, they're all, exhausted. But Loyal's like, I've done it. I've closed the Waygate. And by the way, there's thousands of Trollocs back there, like
Yeah.
thousands. And I love Loyal as a character. I hope that he gets moments of his own to really shine in the next
Yeah.
season because, yeah, like he is a bit of a background character. And I know it's hard with all of the prosthetics that the actor has to wear. So you can't really put him in every single scene. I'm sure it's very hard for him to fight
Hmm.
in all of the prosthetics and do stunts like that. But man, like it would be really
Yeah.
great to see Loyal have like his own little hero moment. And I would love that for him.
I feel like Loyal, we haven't like seen anything like steadings so
I
far.
I want it so bad.
And I really want to see it standing. But
Yeah.
I look, I get it. It's like expensive in terms of CGI and also like sets, and we don't have enough time. But we have to see it standing at some point.
We have to meet
And
Aerith at some point.
yeah, and I feel like that scene, it's actually absolutely perfect for the Two Rivers like plot line. I'm very excited for that plot line in season 3. They won't cover everything, of course they can't, there's no time. Yeah, but I've also seen like the Waygate. It's such a cool scene in like in terms of like visual like media. Very very good for like television. It's such like an it brings lots of like anxiety and like, oh, like it puts the viewer on the edge. and it's
Yeah.
like, oh my god, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
This needs like to work out, and I need to see like them succeed.
This is like
So
a
yeah.
perfect episode like 7 ending scene. Like
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Loyal and Gull showing up just like exhausted, barely, barely standing, collapse, and like, maybe one of the Two Rivers like young men meet them like out in front of, the village and is yelling for help, and they're just like, Trollocs, thousands, they're coming. We close the gate and like end episode, and then it's like,
Yeah.
ah.
That would be such a cool way to end it. Such a cool
Yeah.
way.
Ah. Okay, what was your next one?
Okay, my next one is one that I really want to happen, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
Okay, that's fine.
But I really want to happen, if not in season 3, in some other season. It's in chapter 28. It's Birgit, or Birgit, I never know how to pronounce her name.
Yeah.
When she tells Perrin that the tower of Genji,
Mhm.
Genji, this is all very new names like to pronounce. It's like dangerous, and she talks a little bit about the snakes and foxes,
That's a
and
okay.
she talks about that to Perrin,
Mhm.
and I really like Perrin doesn't know who she is in that moment.
Yeah.
We have seen a glimpse of her in season 2, and I really want this scene to play out at some point. I don't think it's going to be like in season 3 per se, because I don't think they have the actress cast, but
Right.
I really want to see it,
I'm glad you
because it's
chose
such,
Brigida. Like I love her. She's
that's how
probably
you
one of
pronounce
my
it.
top 5 characters in the
Yeah.
Wheel of Time, but we've had so many, like we had in season 1, we had the Easter egg, the little Brigida doll. In season 2, we saw an actress who's not going to be continually
Yeah.
playing Brigida, but we have her. She's coming. Like she's going to be in the show. She's going to be a part of the show. Sprinkling in some of these Teleronriod meetings with her is really cool because not only does Perrin see her, but as Nynaeve ends up seeing her in Teleronriod as well at some point, she's kind of this enigma. Like, who is this woman? What is she doing?
Hmm.
What's her story? Why is she important? Why does she keep showing up? So I love that.
And like I want to see, like I need to see her in the show because she's one of my favorite characters in
Yeah.
like the Wheel of Time. I always say she's like the female version of Matt at some degree. I feel like they're so compatible in like
Yes.
a best friends like type of way, just to clarify.
Yes.
Um and I think she's so much fun, and she's such like a powerful character. And she's not even a channeler. And
Yeah.
she's still so powerful and so like badass that I really want to see her. And yeah, I don't think in season 3 we're gonna like be introduced to her. I hope in season 4. I hope in season 4.
I hope, but I don't know if we'll have the snakes and foxes. So at least like if we got mention, even if it was just an Easter egg, that would be something. Like if they mentioned
Like
it.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because in season 3, in the Shadow Rising, a lot of things happened for Matt,
Yeah.
and I need to see I need to see those things happen because it's very crucial to his character, and I know it's
Yeah.
hard in terms of CGI and time, but they have to make time for that. I'm sorry, they
I
have to.
I think that's probably the biggest plot point that I'm worried about. Like
Yeah,
that's probably the one where I'm like, I don't know. I want it so bad. Like I would understand like if I would understand if they didn't, but I would be heartbroken.
yeah, but like they like
It's
haven't they
so
dropped?
cool. It's so cool
Yeah,
for Matt.
yeah, it is. But like, haven't they dropped like a few like hints of that plot line?
I think Rosamund Pike said there's some real psychedelic uh scenes in
Scenes,
season
yeah.
3.
Um,
That was
yeah.
one that I think some people were hoping to be the Finn.
I don't know if you remember. I saw like a couple of people caught this. I caught it too when I watched the scene. again. It's when the tea scene when Matt sees himself like hanging.
Yeah.
If you listen closely and you put like the volume all the way up, you can like hear like a like
Ooh.
like snaky
Ooh.
sound. And I know like I'm not imagining this because I did
Okay.
hear it,
Okay, if
but
I'm literally gonna after we're done, I'm literally going
yeah,
downstairs to
because
listen to it with
it is
headphones
there.
on.
Like it's very faint, the sound, but it is there. It's like it at first it sounds like the wind, but when you listen to it, it sounds like snakes when Matt sees
Okay.
himself like hanging, that whole sequence.
I'm
And
excited.
that makes me so like
Oh, I hope.
excited.
I
Yeah.
hope. I hope.
I really want to see it. I really want to see
You've given me hope. I've been
it.
so sad about it, but, like, I understand why they wouldn't do it, but
Yeah.
we also have to figure out, like, what's Matt's story next season? Is he just the
Exactly.
sidekick? And, like, is that enough? I feel like he needs a little bit more, but again,
Exactly.
like, this is a lot of focus on Perrin next season, a lot of focus on Rand. Like, I feel like Matt should at least have one of his bigger moments as well, hopefully. So, we'll see.
Mhm.
Okay, is this my last one? I think it is. Was that your last one?
I have one more. I have
Okay, you had your honorable
like
mention one.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's my it's actually an honorable mention. It's not like a big like moment. I just like really want to see it.
okay. I'll do my last one, and this is bear with me. I'm almost 100% sure Nynaeve is going to battle Mogideon. And my next pick is not necessarily their battle scene, but Nynaeve in the Panarch's palace, because I think this location would be the most interesting place for the entire production team to hide multiple Easter eggs. And in the books, there's a lot of like oddities within the Panarch's palace. It's like a
Yeah,
museum.
yeah,
And I think
yeah.
this would be a really cool place to put something from our real world in it to kind of signify to the viewers, like, look, like this world, the Wheel of Time, this could be our future. And put something like in the books, it's like the Mercedes Benz
Yeah.
logo. So, like, I think if they did something like that to viewers who have no idea about the books, to kind of like catch something like that in the background and be like, what? Like, is that really what I think it is? And I think it would be really kind of, I don't know, it changes a lot, I think, about the story in terms of like what could be. Like what is this time, what is it? Where is it?
Yeah.
When? It raises so many questions, and I think it would be really fun to kind of get that sense of like, oh, so like this is like sci-fi, right? Like you're kind of
Yeah.
turning that corner from fantasy to sci-fi, and I really love stuff like that. So that's my hope for Panarch's Palace Easter egg into like our age.
I feel like they explained that the age before the present age of the show was the age of like legends, and then like something happened which like broke the world. They've explained that premises. It's not like confirmation per se, but like they haven't made it clear that maybe the first age, the beginning, was our
Mhm.
age, it's our time. And I feel like if they like put like a broken like phone in the
Yeah.
palace,
A little like
like a
old
broken
Nokia
phone,
razor.
yeah, yeah, something like not like something that was like too obvious, but still like,
Yeah.
wait, what was that?
Yeah.
I feel like honestly, that scene is amazing.
Yeah.
I wish I had thought of that scene, but I'm glad you did. And I really want to see it in the show because it's like such a fun like
Yeah.
Easter egg moment. And like, wait, what? What's
Right, or
that?
like a or
That's
like a really old, like, tattered flag for, like, I don't know, like, NATO or something, or, like, I
yeah.
saw someone online say, like, an astronaut helmet, how, like,
Oh,
wild that would be, and I was like, "That is a very
yeah.
good idea. That is a very good idea." Something international that, like, anyone, no matter where you're from, if you saw it, you would recognize it. And I think
Yeah.
that's a cool pick.
Yeah, but I feel like a broken phone would also be really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, like an old
Like, but
keyboard
not.
or something, like
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah, yeah.
just
Something
something
like
to
that.
show that this time frame, it's not like a period piece in the way that you think it is. But
Yeah.
yeah. So what's your honorable mention, and then we'll wrap it up.
This is very connected to yesterday's Twitter of Chaos tweet.
Ooh, okay.
Right. And my honorable mention is in chapter 36 when Matt buys the hat. And I really want to
Yes.
see that. I really want to see that.
That's a great choice. That's a great choice. That's you know what? That's like a guilty pleasure choice that I don't think anyone
Yes.
could argue with.
Yes.
I think that'll definitely
Yes.
happen. We'll definitely see it. And Matt needs to keep the sun out of his eyes.
How does it look? I'm still traumatized about that bathrobe from season 1 and 2. Oh my god.
All I do every time I get sad about it, I just look at the image of him and Nynaeve's
No.
testing where he's got the whole outfit on, and I'm like, he cleans up so nice. He looks so good. I'm so excited to see the
Yeah.
new outfit choices for him. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. It's going to be awesome. All right. I just want to say, everyone, thanks for watching. I will probably have Rita back at some point. Thank you so much for joining me. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel,
Yeah.
and let us know your thoughts. Is there something in here that you think we missed? Something you like? Maybe something you didn't like? Let us know, and we will see you back next time.